Ladies and gentlemen, welcome on the podcast, George Baker.
Thanks for having me, brother. I
What's going
appreciate it.
on, George?
That was way too. I told you you're way too kind, man. But I appreciate it. Thank you for the introduction.
No, man, I'm excited to have you on so we can talk about Lexington. We can talk about ball back in the day. Uh, I just, first of all, I really want to appreciate you coming on the podcast. And I want to start back at the beginning, dude. Growing up in Lexington and playing at Dunbar, when did basketball become real serious for you?
It was serious from the age of six and on. My father was a basketball player, but more so a guy who played around town at different parks, different gyms. He was always a standout. You know, you could always hear people talking about my father and his hook shot. So watching my dad play was my inspiration. And then watching the guys that he played with and picking up on some of the different things that they did, different styles of play. And then obviously watching the NBA back then, right? You start picking up on stuff. So from the age of six, I was excited about this sport and couldn't wait to actually go on the court and actually start playing and perfecting my craft.
So obviously, most people know you by the nickname the Highlight Maker. That's one of the coldest nicknames to come out of Kentucky basketball, my guy.
At,
Where did
at, at,
that come from, and when did it really stick?
at 45 years old, it's crazy. I think we were talking the other day when if I'm in a gas station or a Walmart or whatever, and somebody goes, "Hey, highlight maker," that's embarrassing, right? 45 years old, that is, I can't even jump over a credit card anymore, let alone make a highlight. But it's something that I am proud of, right? Because people recognized it, people respected it, people respected me, in the sense of being I guess, a legitimate basketball player. Whenever you get a nickname, I feel like you have become a legitimate basketball player. So I thank everybody for acknowledging that. It means a lot. Um, I think my sophomore year, when you're playing against the Jerron Browns and the Eric Browns and the J.R. Van Hooses, and night in and night out, you're getting tough competition, right? One night in particular, we were playing. I wasn't having a good game at all, but I had a fancy pass, right? I used to love to pass the ball, and they put it on the news. And that night, they said George Baker, the highlight maker, with the flashy pass. I'm like, who's that guy? Now, who's the highlight maker? And from the age of 14 all the way to the age of 45, it stuck. So, as corny as it may sound sometimes, I am appreciative, man. I really am. The people thought enough of me to give me a nickname and thought enough of my talents to actually sit back and want to watch me play basketball.
Yeah, that's awesome to have your own nicknames. Cool. So let's talk about the culture of basketball back in Lexington back in the day, because Kentucky high school basketball has always been serious. But during that era, man, it felt different. It hit different. Can you tell us about Lexington basketball back when you was in high school?
Back when I was in high school, I'll take it back to even when I was in middle school, when I used to watch what I consider my idol, my mentor. There's actually a few guys. There's Barry Bowman, right? Barry Bowman is a name. If you're from Lexington, the Central Kentucky area, you know Barry Bowman, right? Barry Bowman was a Bryan Station grad, Southeast Louisiana, made a stop at Louisville, was an All American at Georgetown. So watching guys like him, Darnell Burton, um, Mike Allen, right from Bryan Station, I grew up at the Salvation
Yeah.
Army watching those guys, right? I talk about my dad and him being my inspiration. Those guys were the blueprint because I watched them every day at the Salvation Army, and I wanted to be just like those guys. So back then, it was a lifestyle. It was becoming a culture. Like right now, the culture in basketball. If you go to a travel ball game, got the kids with the bags, they got their headphones on, they have the swagger of a basketball player. Back then, it was just raw. You walked in with your shoes in your hand, right, tied up. You walked with shoes in your hand. You drank from the water fountain, not some fancy water bottle. And these are very small things when you're talking about the culture of basketball, but it has changed. So back then, it was just a more raw, organic form of basketball. And quite frankly, if I thought you were better than me, I don't like you. And my job is to make myself better than you. Whether I got to go out on the hard top and dribble and play and do X, Y, Z. Like we had mentioned Jerron Brown. Jerron Brown is one of the best coaches in the state of Kentucky. It's not even close, right? Jerron Brown is also a great person, right? Jerron was a hell of a basketball player. If people don't remember Jerron Brown, go read about him. Jerron Brown shut Carmelo Anthony down. Jerron Brown scored 50 on Kenny Gregory at Memorial Coliseum. Jerron Brown was unbelievably good. I say all that to say this: we couldn't stand each other in high school. Couldn't stand each other in middle school. The sight of him made fire in my eyes. Not because he did something to me, not because I did something to him. We were basketball players sitting on top of a mountain trying to knock each other off. I think that is what's missing in basketball today. And is it necessary? I don't know if that kind of rivalry is necessary. I'm not sure. But it made me and Jerron better. I'd be daggone if I play Bryan Station tonight and then later on after the game, me and Jerron are on the phone talking about video games and having and going out to eat and da 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 da. No, I don't like you enough for that because you play for Bryan Station and you wear a different color than I do, right? I'm a red and black guy at Dunbar. He's a green guy at Bryan Station. So the game has gotten so nice, so comfortable. Whereas I don't know if the hunger is there anymore to be better than somebody else, right? And again, that stuff may not be important, but those are some of the differences between now and then. Obviously, you have video games and you have, um, your Steph Currys and your LeBron James and your Lucas and stuff like that who you watch play. But the game has changed so much, man, and I could go on all day talking about it.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things is you talk about it, or we haven't really discussed it, but playing street ball was bigger back then. I'm 43 now, and back in the day, dude, Saturday and Sunday, like we're going to the church, dude, and we're hooping it up. I don't know if kids do that stuff these days, do they?
They don't because you're talking about going to the church and getting some reg ball in some pickup ball. You're familiar with this. We played at the blue courts, right? We played at
Yeah,
Shillito, and you never knew who you were going to see that day on the blacktop. But no matter who it was, you had to bring your game because if you don't, you're going to be sitting for 4 or 5 games because you lost. And there were high school kids there, college kids, grown men who just got off work, guys who really wasn't good at basketball, guys who were okay at basketball. You had a different array of players that you could go up against on any given day. So if you go to Shillito now, that is a doornail. If you go to the blue courts now, that is a doornail. Yeah, because we have a lot of comfortable places they can go play in the Lexington area. They can go to the sports center. They can go to the craft center on campus. There's the YMCA's everywhere, air conditioned, nice hardwood floors. We didn't have that back then, so we had to make do with what we had to make do with, and make ourselves tough enough to not only go out there and play in 90-degree weather, right, but play against these grown men. I can remember playing against a guy who had just got out of prison and he had been there for 10 years, right? And
yeah,
playing against him, if you didn't know that information, you would probably say he's been locked up at some point because he just had this demeanor about him and he had the big prison muscles and the tattoos and like he was literally drinking beer, right? He's drinking beer in between games. So that's the stuff
yeah.
we had to deal with, man. So the game, the game has changed, how it's played, the culture of it. And don't get me wrong, I'm still very much enthralled in youth basketball. I love teaching the game of basketball to anybody who wants to be taught. But if you're going to teach it these days, you got to get up with the times, man, because it has changed so much.
Yeah, man, I remember playing. There's a couple cats I used to play with. There's always those older dudes, 50 or 60 years old, that can hoop it up, dude. And
Who?
just the
Who?
fundamentals, just the fundamental and the shooters. I'm talking about. I used to play with the guy. We're not gonna say his name, but dude, until he drunk 5 or 6 cold ones, then he was just lights out all day
He's lights
long.
out.
He's
Lights
not
out.
calming his nerves down, I guess. I don't
And
know,
and
but
and honestly, man, I want to say this before we get away from it. You heard me mention Jerron Brown, Barry Bowman, Darnell Burton. Dale Brown used to play for UK. Sean Woods, I think of as a mentor of mine. Those kind of guys. I got the privilege. I didn't get to do it. I got the privilege to play with and against those guys. Looking back on their careers and what they accomplished, Sean, accomplished coach. Jerron, accomplished coach, accomplished player. Dale Brown, if you're from Lexington, you know it. His name is Mr. Ice Cream himself. Every time he shoots it, he yells out ice cream. So I got a chance to play with in what I consider legends. You got your, and then you go outside of Lexington. You got your Chris Loftons, really good friend of mine. You got your Darius Millers, really good friend of mine. You got all the guys from Georgetown College. You got all the guys from Eastern Kentucky who played at EKU. So the Central Kentucky area and Kentucky as a whole, we have produced some extremely solid, successful basketball, not just players, but people, right?
Yeah.
So shout out to all those people, man, because whether they know it or not, I learned from them.
Yeah, man, Kentucky, basketball is everything here, and
It's everything.
basketball and good people, man. So let's hop back to your basketball career. You started off your college career at DePaul, then you eventually transferred to Georgetown College, where you
Mhm.
absolutely exploded and became one of the top players in the country. Talk about that journey and how those experiences shaped you as a man.
With a lot of juniors and seniors now looking to go into college to play basketball or any other sport, football, soccer, whatever, when you're in high school and you're a good player, some may consider a great player, congratulations. That's something nobody can ever take from you, right? But when you get to college, it's a brand new ball game. They're just as
Yeah,
big as you. They're just as strong as you. They're just as
yeah,
fast as you. They can jump as high as you, if not more, right? So you're starting from ground one. Coming out of high school, I didn't realize that. So when I get on campus and these monsters, right, they're legitimate monsters, I'm like, oh my gosh, am I really meant to be here? Now, eventually, I caught on and I got better as a ball player at DePaul University. Shout out to DePaul University. But then life got too fun. You throw an 18, 19-year-old kid in Chicago, downtown Chicago, and there was something to do every night. Whether it was a club, whether it was a bar, whether it was, getting into some craziness with my teammates or what have you, there was something to do every night, and that was too much for me, right? So I think I went in with a 3.4 after that first quarter. By that third quarter, which was the school year was over with, I was down to a 1.8. Education had become not important to me. Going to class was not important to me. All I wanted to do was play basketball, right? So I had to leave that environment because I had let it get to me in a way that I was never going to be as productive. Here comes Happy Osborne, Georgetown College, which to this day, in my opinion, is the best coach I've ever had. Shout out to Happy Osborne, Georgetown College. And he turned me into not only a basketball player but a point guard. He actually showed me what it meant to be a point guard. So people look at NAI and they go, small college. The atmosphere in those places, the intensity of those games, the the student participation, the administration, small college basketball is something that's extremely exciting. And I did not know that until I was able to participate in it. It was my springboard to becoming a better person, to developing higher character, and ultimately ended up being the start of my professional basketball playing career. And for you guys watching at home, you have to excuse me because I'm in my car. So, anyway, after Georgetown, I thought that there was like your top NBA ball players and then me. That's what I thought. Stupid, right? Just really stupid. And I had gotten a whole lot of deals. I had 4 or 5 deals to go play overseas, and I had turned them down because in my mind, it just wasn't enough money. Because I was getting sniffed at by NBA teams, I'm thinking overseas, they really got to pay me. That first year, I didn't get any offers at all after I turned them all down. So I stayed at home and worked at the Boys and Girls Club. I made snacks for kids and we played games and musical chairs and all that kind of fun stuff. And then that next year, I got my first call to Portugal. And from Portugal to New Zealand to Venezuela to Colombia to Germany to Canada and wherever else I played, I credit all of that to Dunbar and the things I learned there. I credit all that to Happy Osborne and Georgetown College and the things I learned there. And that enabled me to have a fun and successful basketball playing career.
So, before we talk about like the awards that you got at Georgetown College, talk about how easy it is to get off track when you get to school, when you get into college. You're a freshman. You know, a lot of these kids I see. I don't want to say the word entitled or whatever, but they think nothing can happen to them, and
Yeah.
you can get swallowed up in a second. Man, my first semester of college, I didn't play college ball, of course, but But yeah, man, there's just you get into a bigger town, new people, you want to be likable,
The
and you know,
distractions.
I yeah, the distractions. I did terrible my first semester. Of course, I graduated, but you know, I had to get my stuff together, get my life together.
Mhm.
But talk about being a player, everybody likes you, you're on the court, and you can just get swallowed up in a second. So, how important it is to stay mentally strong as compared to being on the court, George?
Staying mentally strong, and I think any former college ball player can attest to this. Staying mentally strong is so much harder than actually playing the game. Right? The game is easy. You can shoot, you can score, you can dribble, you can do all that stuff. But making sure you don't play 3 or 4 hours on the game, right? On the Xbox, whatever they play. Making sure you don't spend 3 or 4 hours on your phone. Making sure you're not on the internet just surfing, just looking at stuff. Making sure the young lady that you have in your English class in the morning, making sure she doesn't become a distraction because she wants to go on a date. Like there are so many distractions, and I feel sorry for the kids now because they have distractions now that we didn't have.
Yeah,
We
with the
didn't have
social media,
we didn't have cell phones.
with
We didn't have social media. We didn't have any of that
no,
stuff. So we had a lot of distractions then. The kids now, I mean, holy crap, they really got to be focused. But with that being said, come on in, baby, come on in. With that being said, um, I think that we have coaches now in colleges and in high school who are hip to that kind of stuff. So they're doing a great
yeah,
job of keeping these kids on task. They're doing a great job of preparing these kids for what freshman year is going to look like. You have assistant coaches in colleges who are simply there to make sure kids stay on task. That's why they're
yeah,
there.
but
That's your job. Um,
exactly.
and the kids that falter out, fail, drop out, typically it's not because nobody cared. It's because you decided to make a decision that's going to be detrimental to your career, and you took the risk, and now you're out of here. Because coaches don't play that now. You're looking at it. Used to be you're getting paid via your scholarship, via your room and board, or what have you. Now you're on this NIL stuff. So if I'm going to give you $2 million or $500,000 or $200,000 or whatever it is, if I'm going to give that to you, not only are you going to be here, you're going to be here the right way. And if you're not, I'm going to get you out of here.
It's
So
professional.
it is very
You're a
professional.
professional.
It's very professional. I'm not a fan of it, but who am I, right? So the kids today have so much more to worry about than we do. And I'll be honest with you, I don't know if I would have came out and been the same player back then if I had today's distractions.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot for these kids, and you were talking about the NIL. You like, and I tell a lot of kids that I work with, you're an investment for a coach, and they're under a lot of pressure to win, and it's a lot of money. And these schools are Florida State's $439 million in debt right now. So there's money behind everything, and you're an investment. So
Do
you
I?
can't go to school. You can't go to school and not be able to get on that roster and get on the floor, because if you do, that coach is going to lose his job because he's not going to win, right?
No, no, no.
So when you go there, it's strictly business, man. They're not there to take
And
you to
it,
the
and, and, it,
doctor.
and it shouldn't be that way. And rarely do I speak publicly about this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But it shouldn't be that way because we're taking these kids, essentially they're kids. That's who they are. They're kids. We're
Yes.
taking these kids and we're making them men. Anytime you give somebody $1 million and say, here you go, you just gave that $1 million to a man, right? And you're making him grow up faster than he should. We're not letting these kids enjoy college. We're not letting them enjoy sitting in the quad having a good time. We're not letting them, order pizza late night and stay up and we're not letting them do that. They have commercials, they have appearances, they have signings, right? We're taking the word amateur out of amateur basketball. We're taking the word youth out of the word, out of youth basketball.
Yeah, and it's just changed the whole landscape of, like you said, they're still kids, and when you got that much money behind the school or whatever, just the pressure to win for the administration, the coaches, like they can't put up with like childish behavior. They don't have time, and you got to win. And like I said, all these schools are spending this much money. And at the end of the day, it's basketball. But at the end of the day, for colleges, it's all about the money that they're going to make.
Business,
So
man, is
it's all
business.
it's all
It's
business.
you talk about we hear so many grumblings about Pope, right? All Pope is doing is playing the game. He's getting these kids, he's paying them to come here, and at the end of the day, when basketball becomes a revolving door, right? When you got kids going to three and four, five different colleges, as a coach, how are you going to develop chemistry? How do you develop camaraderie? How do you develop players? Because if they're going to come 1 year and just leave, that's messing up that development. So gone are the days of Tony Delk, who played 3 or 4 years at UK. Gone are the days of your 3 and 4 year players. Not only that, gone are the days of pretty much the walk-ons, the fan
Yeah.
favorites.
We were talking. I was talking to my buddy Scott of Blue Chips Global the other day, and schools like Kentucky, man, you don't go to Kentucky to develop, man. You should be developed when you get there
When
because,
you get there,
like you said,
when you get
one
there,
year, dude, you got 1 year, maybe two, and you're not there to develop anymore. Like you said, there's no 3 or 4 year players. So you're most of these kids now are developing in the JUCO level, D2. Deshaun Good, he played. I can't remember his school, but man, he played. But anyway, he's just signed with Miami. I can't remember his former school,
mm-hmm.
but yeah, developed where he was at, and now he got a big NIL deal, and he's playing in the ACC. He's showing these kids that it doesn't matter where you go to in the beginning. Keep working
Keep working.
and put the work in, dude, and it's going to happen. But you have to keep working. You can't give up because, oh man, I just got a D2 scholarship or NIA scholarship, which we're getting ready to talk about that here in a second. But just because you're not going D1 from high school, man, that's hard these days with the transfer portal and NIL. I talk
It
about it on
is.
here a lot.
It is.
So your job is to go develop so you can get there because it's hard to compete for the roster spot with a 22-year-old, a 23-year-old physically developed that's played in the system has proven that he can go to school, work out, play, and handle business as a professional playing college basketball. It's hard to compete with
Think
someone like
think
that.
think about what you just said. Asking a 17 or 18-year-old to commit to all of that and be perfect at it. Like
It's
I
almost
man, I
impossible.
it's almost impossible. Now you got some kids that do it, man, but this game it's tough to watch. And I'm not even just talking about watching the game. I was reading some on ESPN the other day, and they were talking about a kid transferring, and the verbiage was something like, "Yeah, his agent has a meeting with such and such school next week." Wait, what? His agent? Not his
Yeah,
mom, not his dad, not him, not his AAU coach, his agent. This 16-year-old's agent. Come on, man. Like
yeah.
if it back in my day, if you were 16, you had an agent. That means you did gymnastics or something, right? Like that means you were this teenage phenom on the balance beams or something, not a basketball player.
Yeah, so I want to get back into your playing career, man. You got over to Georgetown, you stacked up some awards, man. You were All American, you were Conference Player of the Year, and multiple All Conference selection.
Mm.
What do you think allowed you to like dominate at the NAIA level?
That's the thing, man, and that's the thing I tell a lot of kids. I dominated in my own way, and I tell most of the kids I coach, I was a first team All American in college, first team All American, national runner up player of the year. How many points do you think I averaged? Coach, it had to have been 25, 26, 27. You had to have averaged at least close to 30, 9.6 points a game. Because at Georgetown, everybody knew that if, as a point guard, if I didn't set the table, if I didn't get the ball where it needs to be, then you're essentially cutting the head off the monster. I made the engine go. That was my talent. I could make this team go. I could put this team in the right position. I can put the ball on my hip and start directing traffic. So averaging under 10 points a game and being the first team All American, that just goes to show you there's so much more than putting the basketball in the hole, or so much more to basketball than putting the ball in the hole. And there's so many other things you can do, but we're so fixated on dribbling, all the dribbling, all the fancy dribbling, and we're so fixated on the threes. I think I told you the other day, I love Steph Curry. Love Steph Curry. Like that's my man. But he has ruined our game because Steph Curry can go two, three, four dribbles between the legs, behind the back, step back, da, 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 and shoot the ball. And before it even gets halfway to the rim, he's running back the other way because he knows it's going in. And
Yeah.
we have kids that try that. And like we were talking the other day, we don't we don't know how many hours Steph put in the gym to be able to do that. We don't know how many hours LeBron put in the gym to be able to take 3 and 4 and 5 hits on his way to the bucket and still dunk the basketball. So we're watching this stuff, man, and we're getting a false sense of who we can be as a basketball player because we're watching these phenoms, these freaks of nature. So at Georgetown College, man, I just got a chance to be myself. I got a chance to pass the ball. I scored when I needed to. I was a leader, and I remember telling somebody, "There's not a lot of greater feelings in the world than being able to control your team, control the other team, control the home crowd, control the away crowd simply based off your play alone. It's a great feeling." So
Yeah.
I sincerely enjoyed my time at Georgetown, bro.
You know, talking to a coach the other day, he was looking for a point guard, and he was talking about what he was looking for. He was looking for somebody that could hold teammates accountable.
Hmm.
First of all,
Hmm.
number two, control the pace and tempo of the game.
Hmm.
Number three, get the other players involved, facilitate.
Yeah.
Number four, defend.
Well,
You know what
you
he
got me
did,
there.
and
You got me
the
there because
last thing was
I suck as a defender.
score the ball. Well, the last thing he asked was looking for was a score. So
Hmm.
today, when you go to these, you just look online. Everybody wants to be a combo guard, but the main thing he said was they have to be able to do all of it. But number one was to be able to be an extension of him on the floor, to
Yeah.
be able to run the offense. So he wasn't looking for somebody who could put up 30 points a game.
Nah,
It's not what he
man.
was looking for.
That's not how we grew up. That's not how we grew up
Nope.
because I grew up with Jason Kidd being my favorite point guard.
Oh
And
yeah.
Jason Kidd could dominate a game and score 11 points, have 14 assists, 8 rebounds, 3 steals, took 2 charges, and probably got 4 or 5 deflections. He impacted the game more than anybody on the floor, but all you see is Kenyon Martin's 32 points over here.
Yeah.
So understanding that winning a basketball game, there's so much that goes into that other than scoring. But if you look at the point guards back then, John Stockton, Jason Kidd, even Magic. Now look at your point guards. Luca, 32 points a game. SGA, 32 points a game. Westbrook, back in the day, average triple double, right? Um, AI was a combo guard slash point guard, whatever. But now your point guards, I think we've lost that word. Is it a point guard anymore? Because all it is shoot, 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 shoot. And to me, one of the main definitions of a point guard is can you take a 6 point per game player and turn him into a 10 point per game player? Now you're a point guard. Can you direct traffic? Can you be the extension of your head coach? Can your head coach come to you and be like, okay, this is not working. What do you think? Da, 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 da. That's a point guard to me. But it's changed so much that we have scoring point guards now.
Do you remember basketball? I'm sure you do. You'll be watching a game. Somebody's at the free throw line. Head coach and point guard. What are they doing? They're over there talking, just like you
Oh, they're
said.
for sure.
Asking him what you see on the floor. What are you seeing? I'm not seeing. You know what I'm saying? They're having a business conversation right there, talking about the game. What can we do? I don't see a lot of that anymore. They might be over
Nah,
there talking, but it's not game plan. It's not. Hey, what are we going to do coming back down the floor? What do you know? It's he has that extra pair of eyes that he trusts. Trust. That's probably the
James
biggest key there.
James Harden, for the most part, plays the point for the Cavs right now. But I'm not even
Yeah, they're
counting.
done.
Right? Watch James Harden as a Houston Rocket. He was their point guard. He was their point guard. Dribble, 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 step back, step back, step back, get to the rim. What do you call it? Flop a little bit, fling my head, get to the free throw line. I just, I'm still getting used to this brand of basketball. I'm used to the consummate point guards, the ones who are pass first, pass second, score when needed. I'm not saying that's the way you should play. I'm not saying that is the end all tell all in basketball. What I am saying is the traditional point guard is slowly but surely fading away.
Yeah, I think it's trying to come back with a lot. Some of the coaches are really looking for it, but like you said, being a scoring threat. But you need to be able to run the team. And we were talking about. I want to talk a little bit about recruiting. You played
Hmm.
at the NAIA level, right? We were talking about the kids all want these D1 offers, and you need to develop. What are your thoughts on? Do you feel like people overlook how good NAIA basketball really is?
Absolutely. I overlooked how good it was because being in the D1 school at that point, we were a top 15, nationally ranked program in DePaul. When we're dealing with future NBA guys like Bobby Simmons, Quentin Richardson, Stephen Hunter. So we're we're top 20. So of course I would look down on an NAIA school and be like, no, right? I'm not doing that. But NAI is probably the most fun I've ever had playing basketball. And I know for a matter of fact, NAI is where I learned how to play basketball. Happy Osborne would keep us in the gym for hours on end because back then there were no rules in NAI, right? So we'd be in the gym, God knows how long. The preparation that went into games, one game at NAI was way more than anything I ever did at DePaul University. We would wake up in the morning, have a shoot around. In the afternoon, we do individual skill sessions. In the afternoon, we'd have a walkthrough and another shoot around. And then before the game, we'd have another, get shots up. So it was always predicated. There was film. There's plenty of film in there. So it was always predicated on that one single solitary game. So the preparation was awesome. So as far as recruiting, man, kids should never take any anytime somebody's trying to give you some money to do what you love, do not turn your nose up at that. I don't care if it's NAIA, D3, D2, the JUCOs, whatever. There's somebody who thinks you're good enough to take this money and get this free education. Who are you to turn your nose up at that? Who are you?
And it's not the end of the road. Like I said, you can develop there and you can reach the level that you want to. It's not the end of the road, and
By
it's
the
still
time,
great competition, like you said, and a fun
by,
time. You still get to be a kid, and you're going to get paid,
you don't get paid. You don't get
and
paid.
you get a college scholarship. The biggest thing that should be on anybody's mind because basketball doesn't last forever.
It sure don't, buddy. It sure don't. And again, I had way more fun. I developed way more. I learned how to be a better basketball player at Georgetown. This is not me knocking DePaul, right? DePaul
Yeah,
just at that time for me, 18-year-old, 19-year-old kid, it was too much. I wasn't mature enough to handle Chicago, right? So Georgetown was my saving grace, and I endorsed Georgetown. We just had a guy. I say we because he's a great kid. I've known him forever. Malachi Ashford, who's going to Georgetown, and I'm
yep.
super excited about that because that's a kid right there. You talk about a kid who knows how to play basketball. Like he just knows the game. He knows where to go. He can make other people better. He can score the ball. Super excited about Malachi Ashford. Shout out to Malachi for going to Georgetown College and winning the MVP, I think, in the state championship
Yeah,
in
Sweet
the
16
recent months.
MVP.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Shout out to Malachi for sure.
Yeah, great kid. You're a Dunbar guy. I think it was last summer. I had an open run at the Dunbar Center with Coach O'Reese, and Malachi was there. I had a bunch of great kids all over Kentucky come
Man,
down, and it was a great time. Just an open run. It was great.
Reese, Reese, and Lavelle and those guys, they do an amazing job. They do an amazing job of keeping the kids in Lexington and Central Kentucky together, playing, having open gyms for these kids so they can get the best competition possible. And guys like Reese, guys like Lavelle, they truly, truly care about our youth basketball, our amateur basketball here. And if you just look at their actions and look how they move and look how they do things, you can't tell me otherwise. Like those
Yeah,
guys care about the basketball community. Your Reese's, your Lavelles, again, your Jerron Browns. God rest his soul. I think the King of Kings, the Mecca of all Meccas, Charlie Givens. I don't know if you remember that name, but
Yeah.
people in basketball circles will definitely remember Charlie's name around here. So those guys really, man, took on the. They're going to do something about this, and they've done it, and they're continuing to do it. So shout out to the Vales and the O Reeses and all those guys.
Yeah, I just want to give a shout out to them as well. Everybody not might not hear their name or all the time, but if it wasn't for guys like that, our kids need those people around to, for confidence, for just to be there to give them that opportunity, man.
You know what's crazy, man? Central Kentucky finally. We have so many basketball outlets via human beings, not just your coaches. You look at your coaches. Okay, yeah, you got Jerron Brown. You look at your coaches, and yeah, you got Brown over at Henry Clay. Now you got Coach Q at Scott County. Now you have
Mhm.
who else? I mean, we've got a plethora of coaches that are great. We never talk about the people who are not coaching, right?
Exactly.
We have guys who are not coaching but still making an impact. And again, Reese, Lavelle. There's Mike Jones. You know, if you're in the
Tony
basketball circle,
Johnson,
Tony
Tony Johnson
Johnson.
came last 14.
You got Eddie Johnson over at Leestown, who he's been winning championships with the boys and the girls side. So you have multiple guys, coaching or not coaching, ready to give everything they've learned and pass on to these kids. Where I have a problem is whoever's in charge, we're not giving our kids the chance. Any kid that plays in Lexington in the middle school, we talked about this the other day, 10 games?
Yeah,
10 games?
10 games.
They and that's been like that since I played middle school. You get 10 games. Where is that okay? There are rec leagues, I am third leagues and junior pro leagues and who play more than 10 games. And then it starts trickling down. We don't have a lot of Mr. Basketballs. We don't have a lot of state champions. And it really sucks because we have the O Reeses and the Damon Kellys and the Mike Jones and the Jerron Browns and the Lavelles and the O. We have all those people ready to go and ready to make these people better. But whoever administration, whoever's in charge of this stuff, whatever athletic director it is, I don't know. But we're not giving these kids a chance to be better. We're not.
Yeah, it's hard 10 games to be able to heck to learn your teammates to develop, like you said, to get to high school. So there's not a lot of eighth, ninth grade players at your Lexington high schools that are starting. So I'm sure that's a direct effect of playing 10 games a
Bro,
season at middle school, right?
bro, go to Nicholasville, go to Eastern Kentucky, go to Georgetown, go to Paris, go to any surrounding smaller counties, and any counties for real in Kentucky. Like any county you choose, their middle school programs, they start those kids when they're in second grade. That second grade group plays together all the way up through high school. They mesh with that third grade group and probably that first grade group. By the time they get to high school, they all know the same system. They've all been coached by the same people. They've all played in the same gym. Those are your state champions, right? Those are your Mr. Basketballs. But we don't even have that in Lexington. And I'm not coaching, so I can say this. Or if I was coaching, I really wouldn't care to be honest with you. But shame on those people. Shame on those people for thinking that our kids are going to get better within 10 games. Hell, in,
Yeah,
in, in high school, you play 2 or 3 scrimmage games before you get to the regular games, right? So we're not even giving these kids a chance to be great, man. We're not. And that's just one of the things that I have a problem with. I could go on all day long. But again, you got all the right people, female and male, in place ready to develop these kids and show them the way and pass on their experiences, their failures, their successes, whatever. And then on the flip side, we have we have an administration that won't let these kids be great. How fair is that? Unfair is that? Right?
it's unfair. So one thing I wanted to talk to you about was playing overseas, man. I think a lot of young players, heck, even adults, don't understand how difficult it is to play professionally overseas. Not only just for
Tough.
one season, yet alone for an entire career internationally. So you played in Portugal, New Zealand, Colombia, Venezuela, Germany, all over the world, man. What was that
Mhm.
experience like for you?
'Em. Everyone was different, right? Everyone was different. So in Portugal, 'em. 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 was probably my favorite because it felt like home because my organization made it feel like home. So they checked on me. I spent holidays at their families' houses and just all kinds of fun stuff. And after games, I actually had friends that I could go and hang out with. And I actually had my GM, me and him were like best friends. So Portugal was a place for me that was a second home. And I still talk to those people. Like I literally still talk to those people, man. But it was very European, right? Like they ate their fish with the head on it. Now, I know some people might like their fish with the head on it, the scales and the skin, but that's how they ate their fish. Wasn't a big fan of that. Very European. Um, they ate different. A lot of grilled food. We do a lot of fried food. We do a lot of stuff that's unhealthy. They're very healthy over there. At that point, nobody spoke English over there, so I had to kind of learn the language a little bit. But it was home, and I had friends, so I enjoyed Portugal. New Zealand was probably my favorite place, just in terms of scenery and things to do. Auckland, New Zealand was dope. Loved it. Germany was tough. I went over there
Oh
mid-season,
yeah.
and the snow was all the way up to my hips almost, right? And they gave me a smart car, so I couldn't even navigate that smart car around that crazy snow. Um, Colombia was different. It's real different. It's how can I explain this? When I first got to Colombia, they put us in a hostel, and it
Oh
had
yeah.
had a gate on it. You had to ring a bell. They had to open a gate. You ate when they said eat because they cooked the meals. The beds were very thin. There were scorpions in my bathroom that I had to kill on every morning. There's different scorpions. There were moths. You know, a moth is about that big. No, these moths were about the
Yeah.
size of my head, which was obviously very big. So every country had its quirks, but there's no experience that I would take back. I earned that experience, good or bad, and those are stories I can tell. And if we ever go off camera, I can tell you some stories that I probably can't say on camera. So it was fun, man. I had a really good time. I made a little money. I blew a lot of money. Uh, that's one thing you talk about with these kids. If you make any money doing something that you love, especially basketball, have somebody there who's going to help you invest that stuff and save that stuff and put that stuff here and there in other places. But you know, as a young guy, we came back and we bought whole new wardrobes and we'd be out at the bars and the clubs and taking vacations and doing X Y Z. So living a good life back then, man. But I wish I would have been smarter in a whole lot of different ways, right?
So yeah, and you were very successful in Portugal, All Star MVP. You were a national championship. So what year moment really stood out to you in your pro career internationally? Was it that year?
It was not that year. It was my very first year because before you go over there, you say the right things. I'm good enough. I can compete. I got this. You don't know that. So on the flight over there, after I was done crying because I cried forever, you know, having to leave my mom, my dad, and everything behind, right? So I'm crying on my 8 hour flight to there. And I get to practice. My teammates are okay. All right. But I didn't know if I was going to be able to succeed. I didn't know if I was going to be able to dominate or even be a factor. So I started out the season pretty decent, and I'm averaging 17, 18, maybe 20 points a game, something like that. But it wasn't until we played the top tier, quote unquote, best team in Portugal. I mean, and they went across the board 6'10, 6'8, 6'8, 6'5, 6'3. And they were all University of Dayton, University of Cincinnati, USC. You know, they were all high powered guys. And that night, I was the best player on the floor, and that's when I knew I can do as much of this as I want to, God willing. You know, God willing, my body stays healthy. God willing, that everything is okay back home. So that night in particular, when there was supposed to be a star full of stars on the floor, I was the biggest star, and that's when I knew I could do this.
So how was basketball different in each of those countries? We're used to basketball in America. Is it more
Mhm.
physical? Is it more fundamental? Like let's
It's
start with Portugal. What's the difference?
way more fundamental, way more fundamental. We have on every show, whether it's ESPN or Fox or somewhere on the internet, wherever, you're gonna have like a top 10 place, right? And they're all lob dunks and fancy dribbling and shooting threes off the dribble, all the fancy stuff. Man, they don't care about that stuff over there. They care about moving the ball, getting the open shot, running plays to a T, team basketball. Team basketball. There's no isolation. There's no selfishness. If you go and look on some of the top teams in Europe and look on like who's the top scorers, the top scorers are like guys who have 17 points, 16 points. It's because they're moving the ball. They're not dominating the ball. I'm a Kobe Bryant guy. Okay. Kobe Bryant dominated the ball more than anybody I've ever seen in my life. Right. But he's my favorite player. They don't do that overseas, man. They just don't. They just don't. They are very team oriented. They are very fundamentally sound. We start practices off sometimes playing soccer. We would have two soccer goals up in the gym, and we're out there working on our footwork playing soccer. I mean, they're very different in the way they prepare. They're very different in their feeder systems. They are very big on feeder systems. They'll take a 6-year-old man and breed him until he's 14 or 15, and then that kid might turn pro as a 15-year-old, right? So it's very, very different, but at the same time, it's very much the same
Still
because
basketball,
as
yeah.
still basketball, and as I'm sitting there talking about how they do this, this is this, they watch us too. They love the spin moves. They love the off the backboard dunks. They love the behind the back crossover tween, but they love all that stuff. But they stick to their fundamentals, man, and they play basketball for each other 100% of the time. You don't get a lot of selfishness over there.
So, what did basketball teach you about adapting to those different cultures, those countries, and environments?
It taught me that in order to get a paycheck, as far as being a professional, if I'm gonna get this paycheck, I'm gonna have to adapt. There's no way that I can go to another country and be the same person that I am and play the same way that I do and expect them to pay me whatever. Right. So when I was in Portugal, I was a combo guard. So I had to score and I had to get everybody involved. That's when I learned how to kind of balance both. When I got to New Zealand, my first game I put up 31. And my coach called me in the office the next day. So I don't need you to do that. We already have guys that can score. I need you to be a pass first, pass second guy. Okay, time to switch my game again. When I got to Colombia, um, I was a shooter. You're a rebounder, you're a shooter. You get open, you shoot it. We're going to run plays for you to shoot threes. It's what you do. You're a 3-point shooter. I've never done that before, so I got to adapt. And by the time I get to Germany, okay, I need you to score and I need you to get everybody involved again. Well, holy smokes. Would you guys make up your minds? So every place I went, there was a different task. And if I don't adapt, I don't get paid.
Yeah, I think I don't know how you already went over, but just the different cultures, different people. Did you did it make you like grow up faster, or just did it make you? How did it change you as a person?
It definitely as a basketball player, it helped me because I did learn how to adapt on the fly. As a person, it can't do anything but help you because when you go overseas, you're in an apartment by yourself all day, unless you're
Yeah.
with your teammates. I mean, and the first 3 or 4 months are cool, but then after that, those walls start closing in on you, and then you're getting pictures and stuff from people back home for Christmas. They're taking Christmas pictures, and then people are celebrating just different holidays that you would celebrate. Thanksgiving, right? We don't have that over there, so you have no choice but to mature and grow up fast because essentially you are on your own. And like I said back then, it was even worse because nobody spoke English. So
Yeah.
you have to grow up, you have to adapt, you have to if you want to get paid, you're gonna do the job they tell you to do.
So how you've seen basketball from every angle, man. High school, college, pro, now coaching. How different is today's game from when you play ball?
One is a lot of differences, but one because you asked me that, I was having this conversation with somebody this morning. Um, One of the things that I find crazy, I grew up watching Patrick Ewing and Olajuwon and obviously Shaquille O'Neal, right? My dad was a Kareem guy. All those guys have what in common? They played in the post, right? They played right there. They didn't venture out. Patrick Ewing might get out and shoot a little 15-foot jumper that he was really good at. But for the most part, all plays were ran for these guys to catch the ball on the block. Okay. The big boy from San Antonio. I always have a hard time pronouncing his name. Wimbenyana,
They
whatever.
call him Wimby, yeah.
I just really sounded old when I said that. So they're going to get a kick out of that when they watch this. But we can count on our hand how many times this kid has posted up. He operates from
Yeah.
the 3 point line in. He operates from the high post. He operates off the dribble, facing the basket. Right. So you look at Nikola Jokic. He might catch in the post every now and again, but he's also a 40% 3 point shooter. He's also leading Denver in assists. Go all the way back to DeMarcus Cousins. DeMarcus was a post player and a hell of a post player, but DeMarcus was also a 3 point shooter. DeMarcus also liked to put the ball on the floor. So you look at all these guys who are 6'10 or better, who in our day would be post players, but they have evolved into perimeter players. That's why when I tell kids, when I train kids, I don't care what you think you are. You're going to have to learn how to handle this ball. You got to learn how to shoot the ball because the game has changed so much. We don't have a lot of post play anymore. So that's one thing that I've noticed. If people really look at the game, they'll see it. Um, and then just the culture in general. Watching these kids go to these travel ball tournaments, like I stated earlier, there's a certain look you have to have. You have to have your flip flops on with your socks. You have to have your headphones on, even though nothing's playing, probably. You've got to have a big old backpack that looks like it's full, even though there's really nothing in it. You've got to have a cool water bottle. A cool water bottle is essential. You have to have so that kind of stuff, man. We would walk into a game with a Kroger bag full of our stuff. So again, it's a lot of different changes. The way coaching has changed. It's just a lot, man. But it's still basketball. We're still doing this. It ain't going nowhere.
Now you moved on from you got the coach ball, right? So
Hmm.
you transitioned from playing over to coaching and your leadership roles. What did you want to pour in back to the next generation of players and kids?
Um, they're always for a basketball player. For a male basketball player. Speaking to the males, girls, young ladies, women, when they're playing basketball, they'll say playing the WNBA would be cool. That would be cool, and I'd be down for it. But women are they're more savvy than guys when it comes to certain things. Because guys, when we go to college, a lot of us are like, man, it's either NBA or overseas or bust, right? Whereas, females are more like, I'm going to get an education. If basketball is a thing, then, I'll pursue it for a while. But after that, I'm getting a career. I'm doing this, I'm doing that, I'm doing this. So I say all that to say this. Make sure if you're playing basketball, no matter how good you are at it, no matter how long you think you're going to play, make sure that plan B is right there. Make sure that plan B is is in the works because playing basketball and dribbling that last ball or shooting that last shot after that, then what? What are you going to do after that? It's a position I was in. It's a position a lot of us were in. Um, what is your plan after you're done playing basketball? So if I had to pass anything on, one, always give it your best. Always give it your all. You never step on the court and play 50%. You give it everything you got. I'm a firm believer in that. Two, respect the game. High character. Present yourself as a basketball player. Present yourself as a upstanding young man, young woman. And then three, have a plan because this thing is not going to last forever. It's really not. It's
Yeah,
not
I
going to
think
last forever.
the biggest key and big lesson is basketball doesn't last forever. And you
Doesn't.
you were able to you were able to coach at Paris and over at Dunbar,
Mhm.
two of the most respected programs probably in Kentucky, high school basketball. What was the biggest challenge or challenges coaching high school basketball in today's era?
At Paris, it wasn't about basketball. I don't think it was about wins and losses. It was trying to help develop young men. And one of the biggest things I wanted to give the kids in Paris is making them understand and realize that there is a life after basketball, right? There's a life after basketball, and unfortunately, you guys are not going to play NBA basketball. So go and see this world. There's so much life outside of Paris. Like, go and see it. And you're young and you don't have any responsibilities and nothing tying you down. Like, go and see the world. But a lot of times in Paris, that's all they saw was Paris, right?
Yeah.
And it's crazy because they're amazing kids till this day, and they're doing well. They are. We got a couple college graduates out of that class, and we got some kids who are working and getting jobs. I talked to one the other day, so those kids are doing great. But I felt it was important for me to let them know that there was life outside of Paris, and you have every right to go see it. At Dunbar, it was I loved and cared for the kids in Paris, and it was no different at Dunbar. And those kids were those were special kids, man. And whether they play basketball going forward or not, um, those are just some very high character kids. Those are some kids with smiles on their faces, bright as the sun. And as long as as long as they're doing the right things, all of those kids are going to be special in some regards, in some respect. They're going to do great things. And like I said, the same thing with the Paris kids, man. I was blessed. We didn't win a lot of games. I ain't running from that. We did not. But at Paris and Dunbar, I had some really good kids, man, who are going to do great things. And I can't wait to see exactly how it unfolds for all those kids. In terms of Dunbar, there's a kid over there named Asher Horn, probably one of the most polite kids I ever met. He's also 6'5". He sat out all last season. He's going to do some great things this year. We had a kid named Dom, who was a football player slash basketball player, full of energy, full of life, comedy, big old smile on his face. So you got kids like that at Dunbar. You got a hell of an athletic director in Damon Kelly. I sit there and watched him every day, working through different sports, different coaches, rules and regulations, and he was dedicated to it. So if you got an AD that's dedicated to the program like that, it can only get better. Um, just two special places, man, and I'm fortunate and very blessed to have been a part of both of those. One of them being as a player and a coach.
Yeah, that's awesome. What's some things that you try to teach your guys players beyond the game of basketball?
What do I teach them besides the game of basketball?
Yeah, what do you let me rephrase that. So what are some things you try to teach your players beyond the game of basketball, like life?
Respect, man.
Like you kind of hit on
Res-
it about your yeah,
Respect, bro.
bingo.
Like, so again, I was blessed. I got a paycheck to play basketball. We're not all going to be that lucky. You know what I'm saying? So respect for your teachers, respect for your parents, your family. Respect out in public. Like no adult wants to be in Walmart and the next aisle over, they hear a kid dropping f bombs and mfs and but they don't want to hear that, right? So learning how to respect and carry yourself in public, learning how to shake hands and be firm and look that guy in the eye, and learning how to let your personality come through. Learning how to be a good person. Am I a good person? Yeah, it might be up for opinion, depending on who you ask. But I try to live my life in the sense of I try to be respectful, right? So I try to teach respect to all these kids because shaking somebody's hand firmly, you'd be surprised how far that'll take you. You'd be surprised the response you
Yeah.
get when you shake somebody's hand. You'd be surprised at the response you get when you say, "Hey, how you doing, man? My name is George Baker. What's your name? Nice to meet you." What? This kid's only 14. So teaching these kids how to survive um, in the world with just simple stuff, man. I'm all about yes, ma'am, no, sir, no, sir, no, sir, yes, ma'am. I'm all about that stuff. I'm all about opening the doors for ladies and treating them as such. So just trying to teach these kids the same things I was taught by my dad, you know?
Yeah, there's two things I say about respect. Number one is it costs nothing to respect somebody, and
Nothing.
number two is just because you don't like someone doesn't mean you shouldn't respect them, right?
Absolutely.
That's
Absolutely.
probably the two biggest things about respect. Before we get out of here, I'd like to do some quick hitters to have a little fun. Who's the best player you ever got to play against, dude? Best player you ever got to play against? College, professional,
Kenyon Martin.
Cincy, right?
Yeah. Kenyon Martin. I've played with I've played with Yao Ming. I've played against Michael Finley, formerly of the Dallas Mavericks and Phoenix Suns.
Yeah.
I've played with Quentin Richardson at DePaul. I played with Jamal Crawford at the Nike All American Camp. But Kenyon Martin's the scariest and best player I've ever actually seen in person played against. It was, whew,
What made him I guess tougher than those other guys?
he didn't care nothing about you. He didn't care. He was capable of blocking shots. We all know that. But just to send you a message, just to let you know he exists, instead of blocking your shot, he'd go up in the air and grab it and come down with it and hand it to the ref as if I know I goaltended, but he knows not to bring that crap in here no more. And he wasn't like, if he knocked you on the floor, he wasn't going to help you up. He wasn't going to be the nice guy. He's there to eat your heart out. That's what he's there to do. And
Yeah,
he
he
didn't let
was
it be
tough.
known.
So, what was the toughest environment you ever played in overseas?
I can't remember the name, but we won. Ironically, we won off my last second free throws. I got fouled in a 3 point attempt. We were down two. I don't know why I took a three. I guess I was going for the win. And I made all three free throws. When I made that last free throws, there was some nuts or something out on the in the trees outside the arena. So they went and gathered all those nuts and they were throwing them at us as we were going to the bus and what have you. During the game, they were beating on drums and burning flags and stuff like that. So I had never seen that before. And I can appreciate that kind of passion. I just don't want to get hit in the head with acorns from a tree outside, but whatever.
What's the favorite country you ever played in?
New Zealand.
New Zealand. Why?
Easy living, beautiful scenery, beaches, mountains, volcanoes, and everybody's just happy. It's Auckland, New Zealand. Like we could look up Auckland and you can see the picture of the big old tower or what have you. And I got to live there. It's beautiful. Lisbon was a beautiful place, but Auckland was my favorite as far as atmosphere. Portugal was my favorite because of the people, but New Zealand was just a cool place to be.
So, one Kentucky player that people don't talk about.
Oh, it's a good one. There's so many of them. Are we talking high school or UK?
High school. Yeah, let's go with high school basketball.
High school player
Somebody.
that people didn't talk about enough. Uh, One comes to mind. His name was Darnell Dowse. Played for Lafayette. 6'8" rebounder. You know, he can shoot the ball. I feel like he didn't get enough pub. Um, Holy smokes. We got a guy named Eli Strait, who was just the former coach. He's the former coach of Paris here recently. Eli played for Tate's Creek, and I don't care who you were, Eli was going to go at you every night. And Eli was only about 5'10", but he could shoot the mess out of the ball. And he was just a mean, kind of nasty guy on the court. My toughest matchup, we've mentioned him previously in this interview or on this podcast, was Jerron Brown. Jerron Brown was ahead of his years, not athletically or anything like that. He was athletic. He'd go and dunk on you. He could do some cool things, but that guy don't get enough credit for how smart he was on the floor. He was leaps and bounds ahead of us as far as being cerebral in the game. He could see things before they happen. Like when I was at Georgetown, we went to play him when he was at Pittsburgh. I cannot make this up. Jerron played the one, the two, the three, the four, and guarded everything. He guarded the forwards, the points, the twos. He guarded everybody. He was the most valuable player on the court, and he did everything. So I don't think he gets talked about enough. And I'm gonna say this too. I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna end it like this. about a year ago, Lexington came out with like a top 20 high school players of all time. I was mad that I wasn't on it. That was a bunch of crap, right? But you didn't put Jerron on it either. You left me and Jerron out. So I'm calling out names. Alan Cutler, uh what's his name? Oh gosh, now I can't think of the names. But all those people that voted on that, shame on y'all, man, not putting Jerron Brown and George Baker on there. Y'all be ashamed of yourselves, man.
What about the starting five of Kentucky hoop legends, man? Who's your starting five? Yeah, let's
Come
dig
on,
this out.
man. Come on, man. Okay, we're gonna exclude people like Dirk Minifield only
Yeah,
because I didn't get to see those guys. I didn't get to see Dirk, right? I didn't get to see um, all those greats, right? And Dirk, I know Dirk is probably the best to ever come out of Lexington. Shout out to Dirk. Jack Goose Givens, I didn't get to see Goose. I didn't get to see him. I only know how good
yeah.
he was. So I'm gonna go with the people that I seen out of Lexington. Okay, I'm going myself at the point. Period. At 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 24 points, 9 assists, and 9 rebounds. Show me a point guard that did that. Right. I'm going myself at the point.
You average 24,
Um,
9, and 9?
24, 9, and 9.
Jeez.
Um, at the two, I'm going Tavion Hollingsworth.
Oh, boy.
Hmm.
Kid was a beast. I remember him when I first started scouting and recruiting, dude. Kid was a
At the
beast.
He's an animal. He's an animal. At the three, I'm going Barry Bowman.
Barry Bowman. I don't recognize that name. Fill me in.
Ooh, Barry Bowman could get off the floor. He could jump. He could run. He could. He won a national championship at Georgetown, first team All American. But he went to Southeast Louisiana first and made a stop in Louisville. I watched and I respect Tony Delk a ton. I respect Tony Delk so much. I will never You'll never hear me say anything bad about Tony Delk. I think Tony Delk was just a cornerstone for UK. He was the backbone of that championship team. I watched Barry Bowman get the best of Tony Delk in some pickup ball once. I mean, Barry was just, and we all know how good Tony was. I mean, Tony scored 50 in the NBA. He scored 50 points in the NBA with the Sacramento Kings. So um, watching Barry Bowman that particular day get the best of Tony was like, okay, he's it. So I got him in my three. Again, Jerron Brown in my four. And at my five, I'm going to go Lamont Barnes. Lamont Barnes. Lamont Barnes was University Heights and then went to Temple and had a hell of a career at Temple. So myself at the one, Tavion at the two, Barry Bowman at the three, Jerron at the four, Lamont Barnes at the five. That's who I'm going. Now, I left out David Graves, who went to Catholic and at Notre Dame. I left out Sean Fields. I left out a ton of people. Uh, uh, Duna, Demetrius Green, that went to Lexington Catholic. There's a Justin Taylor that went to Tate's Creek. There's so many great players I left out. But Mike Allen, right, great player. But I'm going with that five right there.
Yeah, that's a code five. Before we
That
before we hop out of here, man, what tell everybody what George Baker's into these days.
So in years past, I've been training ever since I was in my 20s, right? 45 now. And it's just been more so I train you, you pay me, boom, you go your way, I go mine. We'll see you next time. So I actually created a business called Baseline to Baseline. And we do training. Absolutely. That's the bread and butter. But we do a lot of events as well. It is um we throw tournaments. We have a showcase coming up, unsigned seniors and junior showcase coming up in July. We are having like 3-on-3 tournaments. We got the 4th of July 3-on-3 tournament coming up. So any and everything basketball of all ages, that's what I'm doing. Right. And I want to have fun with it, man. Like I love coaching, I love playing, but this is fun. I want to have some fun with it. I want to make my own hours. I want to make my own time. I want to make my own money. And I want to do things my way. I was fortunate to be able to work the KBC with Tom, Tom, um,
Yeah.
with Marcellus, with Julius King, and all those guys. So being around those guys, learning the business and learning how to do things has kind of helped me out in this venture of mine. But it's been fun and it's been successful, and it's only going to get more successful because I'm that hard headed, that
Yeah,
stubborn.
man. Just I just want to seriously, appreciate you coming on today on the podcast. Your journey from Lexington High School basketball to playing professionally across the world, being a star at Georgetown, and now, coaching high school ball, and now you're still giving back to the kids. You're training. You're having these events. Man, it's an honor to have you on. Where can people find out where they can get to those events in your training?
We can go just simple baseline to baseline.net. That's easy. Baseline, the number two, baseline.net. You'll get everything you need on there. There's the About Me section, there's the events we have coming up, there's the booking stuff, and everything I do, I make sure it's affordable, man, because in the day and age we live in, everything's expensive. Gas is ridiculous now. You can't go to a drive-through and get a normal combo meal without spending $20. So I make everything super affordable. And even if you're to a point where you're like, man, even that's too much, I've said to myself, I will never turn a kid away due to money. Ever. Ever. Right? Like
Yeah, we
that's just
talked
not how
about
I
that yesterday. Yeah.
talked about that yesterday, man. Like I'm just not with that. So everything's affordable. Everybody's welcome. Baseline, the number two, baseline.net. Come check it out. If you do, great. If you don't, I want everybody to be blessed. And to piggyback off what you said, I want to thank you for having me, because we just started this thing about a week ago, me and you going back and forth and conversing. So to have me on the show, man, I sincerely appreciate it. And with that being said, my mama's calling me right now. I'm looking at it on my thing. I got to get to my mama. So, you,
Yeah,
I
I'm about
love
to
what you're doing.
close. Yeah.
I love what you're doing, bro. I really do. I really love what you're doing. I watched the interview with Mitchell the other day, and then you got Jerron coming on, and then you had Maples the other day. So what you're doing is absolutely amazing. Don't stop. If nothing else, get better every single day, man. God bless, my brother.
All right. Well, that wraps up another episode of the Pure Prospects podcast. Man, big shout out to George Highlight, the highlight maker Baker, for joining us today. Make sure you subscribe to Pure Prospects and Blue Chips Global over on Substack. You can catch the podcast on YouTube, catch it over on Substack. Just make sure you hit us up. You can get elite graphics from me over at Pure Prospects Star Edits. Always, we have the recruiting info and everything over at Blue Chips Global on Substack, also on Pure Prospects, working with some guys. Just confirmed we're gonna have Ethan Corey of Easy Sports Group. He's the
That's a big one. That's a big
director
one.
of operations for La Familia TBT team. Willie Cauley, I think it's Willie Cauley Stein just signed to come play. There's going to be a 3-game series with Kentucky and Louisville playing, so we'll probably talk about that, get into that. He does some NIL stuff, big stuff.
Mhm.
Also, tonight we're going to have Brian Brooks of Brooks Sports Performance on. He's been a consultant for the Boston Celtics. He's worked with Jay Scrub. He's worked with
Yeah.
Ray Spalding of Trinity. Uh, He's worked with so many pros. He works with Jordan Mitchell, Josh Lindsay, Boogie Cook, 3 of the top kids in the 2028 class. We're going to talk about how these kids train these days, what they're doing right, what they're doing wrong, and it's going to be a great time tonight. So make sure you guys listen. You can check us out on Instagram at Pure Prospects, Facebook, and X. George, man, go see your mom. I've got a call coming too, man. I appreciate you coming on, dude.
Salute, man. Thank you,
Later.
brother.
Yes, sir.